Are we live?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Midas Letter RAW. We have a show and a half for you today because big shit is happening in the world. Big shit is happening in the cannabis business. And I think that I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this day, or these days this week, are going to go down in memory as the point at which the cannabis industry fell over and landed on its head. What do you think of that, Edward?
You know, I've been through bears, like vicious sell-offs. So you know what? Anything can happen. I mean, it can go lower. I'm looking for a bottom here. I'm looking for a bottoming process. But you know, the cannabis space has got a lot of bullshit in it. Like as we saw with these latest issues that came to market.
Yeah.
And not well received.
Yeah.
They altered the terms of that bought deal with MedMen, and it got hammered again.
Yeah. Well, I think that was what you would call backlash.
Except, you know what? I think a lot of guys went in there, like brokers probably said, okay, it's priced right now. I'll load the truck. And yet,
yeah, I don't think that
people don't like losing money just to make a point, you know?
Well, that is my point. I don't think that the market, I think that was the latent reaction time yesterday between the time when the hold came off.
Yes.
The hold came off and it started trading and the market went, wait a sec, let me absorb this. Did we just see a bought deal get halved in the midst of a bull market? What does that mean? Oh, wait a sec. Think on it, sleep on it, drink a couple bottles of wine, have a steak, talk to your wife, talk to your kids.
You
know what it means is that the bull market has just ended.
Yeah, the bull market's over.
The bull market, I'm not going to say you heard it here first because there's all kinds of chicken littles out there running around going, oh my God, the sky is falling. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not that bad. But what we do have is you have a confluence of geopolitical circumstances such as increasing trade tensions, in fact, the complete failure of the trade mission to China by real President Buffoon. What's his name again? I can't remember. Not that we're political. He just lends himself so well to, comic fodder. Comic cannon fodder. That's what he does. He took the hair from his ass and sewed it onto his head, and now he's the laughing butt of jokes the world over.
Yeah.
Him, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin. I mean, I saw a little meme of the three of them in a canoe. Putin all shirtless and Trump's hair's all blowing in the wind, and you've got the
Elvis Presley look-alike.
But anyways, so the confluence of this geopolitical upset has now catalyzed.
Sure.
It has catalyzed a rise in interest rates on the same point. The Fed is basically saying we're going to raise rates because we got to stabilize this situation.
Yeah.
You've still got the euro printing. 50 million euros. 50 billion euros per 30 days in quantitative easing. So we still have this situation where the flood of money is continuing. Despite the flood of money, the large cap bellwethers, which we have in this current iteration of the human life force, we're calling the FANG stocks. FANG stocks. FANG stocks. No, that's Facebook, Amazon, Airbnb, Facebook, Amazon, Acme? No. Facebook, Amazon. No? You got nothing? Fang. What's the second day in Fang?
Apple.
Apple? Jesus Christ, Ed. Nothing slow about you today, is there?
I thought you knew that.
Why would I looking, asking, saying if I knew?
Anyway, I think you should also remember that there's no guarantees that things go up forever. Just because things don't go the way you want doesn't mean we have to be upset about it.
Well, that's true. Sometimes there's a...
No. At the end of the day, they go up and down. That's the one thing they've always done. And it's up to us to pick the right direction before it happens.
And get in front of it. Be where the puck's going to be, not where the puck is. Yeah, oh my God, that has become so cliche.
That's
Ed, show me an S&P action. Give me a physical, technical interpretation because I have no idea what's going on. As far as I'm concerned, I want to join the chicken club.
Okay, well, I don't want Tilray.
You go tab 1. What is that one?
That's CanTrust.
Tab.
Tilray.
Tab.
CanTrust.
Okay, tab.
MedMen.
Tab.
Amazon.
Tab.
Amazon.
Tab.
MedMen. One at a time. Okay, just
give me this damn thing. What the hell? We had this all set up here.
Unfortunately, I have nothing to do with this.
Can trust. No, that's true. You don't. Tilray. Weed.
SP. We want the SP.
I'm going to pull up another charts advanced, and I'm going to load up the SPY. This stupid thing says there's no active.
SPX.
SPX. Boom. Here we go. Yeah.
Okay. That's the chart we want right there. Okay. So look. So here we are. We're starting to get really close to the lows.
To the lows? Which lows?
Well, you know what? Just a second here. Just a second.
You're going to show me, aren't you?
Yeah. There we go. So there's a low, and here's a low.
Yeah.
And we're still above that low. I thought we weren't going to go back down there, but we are.
So what are you saying? The whole market's breaking down?
Well, not yet, but damn close. Back here we had a big drop.
Yeah.
Similar absolute values from about 29, 25 down to this level here. It's about the same drop as that. And then it took, a few months of sideways action. So that's what we're in. But if this gets breached here, in here.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't like it. I don't like it. It could be
Armageddon?
Well, Armageddon. What's Armageddon? Armageddon.
Let's see. The
like a recession.
Financial market freezes and money stops coming out of bank
We
machines
saw that
and
in
credit cards stop
2008. We saw it.
Food riots, rape and pillage, tribal warfare.
There's lots of, Yeah, it could be troublesome, but I got to believe at some point they're going to settle a lot of this stuff that's causing some of this to happen.
Well, so what about the, so let's say on the macro geopolitical front, is it safe to say that the trade tensions with China is starting to undermine the financial viability of some of the FANG stocks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apple canceled their order.
And so Apple...
Canaccord have their bought deal. There's a fundamental part. The ground is shifting beneath our feet here. Is this not symptomatic of like the onset of a major recession?
Somebody was saying that the amount of money that's out there now is 3 times more than it was in 2008. So nothing's changed.
Right, but that's
major
all that.
Correction, and they've printed all this dough.
And now the news.
It's ugly.
Emblem Corp has reported losses of $10.84 million in their financial and operating results for Q3 2018. The company did achieve record revenue of $2.3 million, a 50% increase quarter over quarter. And their active registered patients also increased by 20% this quarter. Further highlights over the quarter included their 5-year supply agreement with Aphria commencing in May 2019, strategic partnerships with Natura Naturals Inc. and Green Space brands, and the launch of their first recreational cannabis brand, Symbl, with province supply agreements in Alberta and Ontario. I don't know if you've seen those on the Ontario Cannabis Store, but I have seen some Symbl product. Weekend Unlimited announced that they've entered into an arm's-length agreement with the Northern Lights. The deal provides Weekend with the option to acquire 49% of a retail cannabis store located in Nisku, Alberta. The Alberta retail operation is planning on opening in December 2018. The parties have entered into a convertible secured 6% interest loan facility on November 15, 2018 for up to $1.2 million. At any time during the term ending December 31st, 2022, the company has the option to convert the full amount of its $1.2 million loan facility into 49% equity stake in the retail store. The option may only be exercised once Weekend has received approval from the Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission after going through required due diligence. Choom Holdings Inc. announced that they have acquired Clarity Cannabis Medical Centers Inc. and affiliates doing business as Clarity Medical Centers. The acquisition includes 5 new medical centers along with a telemedicine platform that provides education for referring patients in the use of cannabis for medical purposes. Clarity Medical Centers aims to streamline the process of patients to register with a licensed producer. ICC International Cannabis Corp announced that they've entered into a definitive agreement to acquire 100% of Green Gene Research Inc. Green Gene controls a portfolio of over 120 laboratory-tested craft cannabis strains and focuses on the research, testing, and cultivation of proprietary seeds and strains. The acquisition of Green Gene positions international cannabis to realize multiple revenue streams using its genetic catalog, including licensing of premium genetic strains, wholesale seed sales, clone fulfillment services, custom breeding programs, tissue and culture, and strain patenting services. Under the terms of the agreement, Green Gene will transfer ownership of its proprietary strain portfolio, seed inventory, and clone catalog to International Cannabis. Harvest One Cannabis announced that they've completed their previously announced acquisition of 100% of Israel-based Phytotech Therapeutics Limited from Australia-based MMJ Group Holdings Limited. In consideration for the acquisition of Phytotech, Harvest One paid $1 million in cash and 8.32 million Harvest One common shares. Phytotech has developed oral delivery formulations for cannabinoid-based prescription drugs and holds an exclusive worldwide licensing agreement with YISM Research Development Company, the commercial arm of the University of Jerusalem, for a proprietary lipid nanotechnology. With the acquisition, Harvest One will gain access to advanced patents to further R&D and product development and pursue the evolving cannabis oils market. Radiant Technologies has received its confirmation of readiness letter from Health Canada in regard to an application for an initial standard processor's license. This confirmation of readiness letter will license the company's recently expanded manufacturing facility in Edmonton. Upon Radiant's demonstration to Health Canada that its manufacturing facility is fully functional and compliant under the Cannabis Act, the company will be granted its standard processor's license, at which point it will be permitted to begin extracting cannabinoids for the purpose of sale to other federal license holders. Province Brands of Canada Limited and Lost Craft Beer announced an agreement to launch cannabis-brewed craft beer. Lost Craft Beer is one of Ontario's fastest-growing and award-winning craft beer companies. The agreement will allow Lost Craft Beer to license Province Brand of Canada's patent-pending technologies and brew beers in Province Brand's 123,000 square foot facility in Grimsby, Ontario, which is currently under construction. The process will start once the manufacture and sale of such products are legalized in Canada. Tetra Biopharma and Quantum Pharma announced the signing of a binding proposal for exclusive access to a Health Canada licensed facility that enables Tetra to produce cannabis and cannabinoid drug products. Quantum Pharma was the GMP manufacturing division of Ford's Family Pharmacy and Wellness Center. Their formulation expertise will enable Tetra to develop innovative products for future clinical trials. Cannabis Growth Opportunity Corporation announced the company's updated net asset value per common share of $2.63 at the close of business on November 15, 2018. This represents growth of 13.5% since their IPO offering at the beginning of this year. CGOC is a cannabis-focused investment corporation with both public and private cannabis holdings. CGOC is now over 97% invested in companies operating in Canada, the US, Jamaica, Israel, and total investments representing 60% of the overall portfolio, with the private investments representing approximately 37%. $2 million in revenue, $10 million loss.
That's EMC.
Emblem. That's disconcerting.
Well,
but it's following in the tradition of a long line of losers.
EMC. What's the market cap of EMC? I don't.
E equals MC squared. I don't know. Let's look it up, Brady.
Is that CA?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
You go there. I'll go here.
Here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
Unfortunately, I don't know how to get market cap on here.
Oh boy.
But I can get it on my phone.
Oh boy.
Which I'm prepared to do.
Uh-oh. Well, while you're doing that, I'll just look up the market cap on our site.
You know how to do that real fast.
Yeah. That way...
And I know how to do it reasonably fast.
So the market cap of Emblem is 145 million.
There you go.
They've got 123 million shares outstanding.
I got the same information.
You got the same information. So you're saying that my information is accurate?
Well, I'm saying that the information I have and the information you have relate.
Well, that's handy. So probably since we're looking at the same information.
Yeah, what's a company worth that does $2 million in a quarter of revenue, and
I would say 145,340,000. That's what the market cap is today. You mean is it trading at an overvalued, undervalued, or fair valued basis?
Right. I mean, the way you look at it right now, it's overvalued. Unless the numbers of the revenues reach up to it, which we don't know if they will or they won't.
True. Well, in that
if
basis,
they keep losing $10 million, how long will that? How much cash do they have to get them? And I'm just talking generally speaking. That's what the analysis you have to make.
Right. Okay. So on that basis, then all of the cannabis companies have been overvalued pretty much since day two, not day one. Day one they were fairly valued.
They moved them up. People say, "Hey, this is an easy way to make money." They get in. Who's ever selling to them is now out, and
Wealth Transfer 101.
Here, Wealth Transfer 101.
Your broker,
and the broker you get.
The broker makes. You start off,
and the bankers make money. Everybody's making money because there's incentive. You know, it was incentive for Canaccord to reduce the bought deal price.
Yeah.
Like Barry made incentive because they had lost 20 or 30 million bucks at the corporate level. They didn't want to do that.
No, you wouldn't want to do that. So then, in the context of
Canopy grows down to $1.06. That's not a bad day. That's not a bad day considering.
Yeah, actually, well, it is not a bad day.
It got down to 40, right?
Did it?
Yeah,
when?
I think this morning.
First Did it go below 40?
No.
It didn't go below 40.
I think the low print, if I'm not mistaken, was $40.
I'll have to call Dimitri and gloat. I would have lost the bet if it went below 40.
Even if it went there temporarily?
Well,
look
temporarily.
Look at Kronos, up 2 cents, flying. We could have an update tomorrow. You know what? When you say the pessimism is quite high right now, just by what you see, how you feel.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the indexes, and look what we got here.
What do I press here? A Shift, Alt?
No. You do Alt Tab to change charts. But we're looking at the indexes now on my screen.
Okay.
On my screen. Oh, great. Oh boy. Okay, well, so
we've gone from 8 to 450 on the MedMen. Tab, Alt. Alt, Tab.
Tab, Alt, Tab. NDI. Okay, how about now? Yay! Okay, there we go. Now, look at the large cap index is only down 2% today. That's not a big
look, and you know it looks
not
like
a big thing.
Your index is showing you know what I see the beginning of a W there. You see that W?
Yeah, half a V.
You got a V, and you got the other half, and now we got a big upward move to the top again, and that would complete the W.
Right.
So
okay. You know what I would like to do is look at the CSE index, which is down over 5% today. Let's see who the biggest losers are dragging that sucker down. So the first one, C21 Investments Inc., lost 15% today, down 18 cents to $1. But MedMen, look at MedMen, trading at $4.69. After they priced the bought deal at, what was that number? Was it 550? 550. So now it's lost, 13% today alone, and it's looking pretty iffy, which I find interesting because MedMen is one of the companies that's got, a major sort of sales distribution throughout many states in the United States.
Yeah.
Focused as it is on the retail, however.
You got to think there's got to be. I mean, Canaccord's got to get some lawsuits here, don't you think? I hate to say it. I'm not trying to suggest it, but look, they've done how many deals in a row that have just absolutely shit the bed.
Well, let's count them. Cureleaf.
Cureleaf, for sure.
Acreage. M Jardine. What's M Jardine doing?
Oh, yeah, MJAR. MJAR is the ticker.
MJAR. They're not even on our radar yet. Here, let's take a look at MJAR. But mind you, this is not really a fair time to be looking at the performance of an investment bank relative to its IPO activity, given that the entire world is in a state of like swirling down the drain right now. So M Jardine's at 827 as of Monday, November 19th.
What is it at?
It's at
M Jardin.
Oh boy.
You know what Jardin means? It means the garden.
Yeah. You know what M means? Marijuana.
Marijuana garden.
Whoa! So this thing, first day of trading, it opened at $6. And so technically, this thing is a pretty solid performer, relatively speaking.
What was the issue price?
$6.
It was?
Well, that's what I'm guessing by the opening price.
No,
$6.
you can't do that. You can't do it because it could have opened at 10 and opened at, just saying. There's no relationship between the opening price and, I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know. The opening price is usually the IPO price.
Not in the marijuana space.
Well, that's true. That's true. Okay, so there is no press release talking about the M Jardine issue price for the IPO round on this thing, so we don't know actually where it's at. Okay.
So listen, the S&P right now still is holding the lows of a month ago. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that until I see different. And I saw Amazon actually was down sharply and it rallied to up a bit. I think it's down a bit. It's a bellwether.
What about our old friends at Namaste, Sean Dollinger? I mean, how have they been faring in this horrible storm? Let's take a look. Namaste Technologies, $1.42. So looking at that chart, I mean, that's not really all that different from what we're seeing in the S&P. I had a conversation with Sean Dollinger from Namaste just about half an hour ago, and here's what he had to say.
I'm interested in hearing about this.
Say no more. Here it is.
Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Winnie the Pooh, which is a bear. Look at this. I'll tell you, I think, look at ACB is only down 10
Wait a sec, I think they're still on us. And here's what Sean had to say. Welcome back, my guest in this segment, returning for the, 10th time maybe? Sean Dollinger is the CEO of Namaste Holdings Inc, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol N. One letter, N. Sean, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Sean, you are one of the most dynamic companies, I must say, in the cannabis LP universe, but you're not an LP, correct?
Kind of. We are an LP. Okay. So it is really interesting. We just decided not to go for our cultivation license. So we're a licensed producer. There's no difference between us, Canopy, Aurora, Aphria, except we don't cultivate.
Right. And why don't you cultivate?
We decided to leave it up to the experts. For example, Canopy's been around for 10 years, 8 years going at it, and we still see them having trouble with it, right? And here we were new to the game just a few years ago. What we're really great at is e-commerce. So that's where our focus goes, and we leave it up to the experts to cultivate, and then we take that product and sell it on our platform.
Right. So you're going to sell the product of all the LPs at some point online?
That's correct. So right now, if I said to you, and you're experienced in the cannabis market, which LPs are number 20 to number 40 right now? I think you'd even have a tough time naming 40 licensed producers out there. What happens when that becomes 100, 200, 300? How does that person who's coming out in a few years from now still develop a product name for themselves? Mm-hmm. On our platform with our relationships, we're able to bring that product to life through our distribution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is going to be like the Amazon.com marketplace of cannabis?
Pretty much, except we're the platform. So Amazon's done an amazing job, as we know, one of the most valuable technology companies in the world. But we're taking it a step further. We're looking at, for example, companies like Airbnb, Uber, that are the platforms that drive traffic, but they don't actually own inventory. For example, Airbnb, they don't own real estate, but they're the #1 real estate company in the world.
Sure.
If we look at Alibaba, they're a fantastic platform, very similar to Amazon, but they don't actually carry the inventory. Right. So over time, we're hoping on the cannabis side of things that we could connect into the different licensed producers' inventory across Canada, and then we could go ahead and sell those products.
Sure. Okay, so how has Namaste been evolving over the last 3-6 months? You guys have made some really splashy moves. You've kind of got the attention of regulators, but it's all good, obviously, because you're driving forth and you have nothing stopping you.
Yeah, listen, we have lawyers and legal teams. They look at everything, right? We're one of the larger publicly traded companies out there. Earlier this year, we went through $1 billion market cap in just a couple of years of being public. And obviously, we make sure to do everything great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you need to think outside the box. And one of the latest things that we did was working with a online dispensary called Buds to Go. And after the legalization of cannabis, where Health Canada and the Canadian government said that they would come out and go after companies that were still operating illegally, they would be shut down. Well, through our telemedicine app, it's allowing us to use technology to help these people who were purchasing illegally to come over to the medical side if they really do need a medical license. But at least it gives the ability for people to go the route where they were going previously to actually come over to the legal side.
Right. So there are a great number of users of cannabis in Canada who have medical licenses, who are kind of recreational in origin, but if one considers the fact that a recreational regular exposure to cannabis is a way to self-modulate mental health, then really, what's the difference? Where's the line between medical and recreational?
That's a great question, and we believe, why not take the responsible approach? As I'm sure you know, sometimes you could have a product and it gives you a feeling that you weren't after, and perhaps you experimented and ends up hurting you as a customer going for many years into the future, and you're hesitant, right? And we believe on the medical side of things, if we could take you through a process, an education process, where we could actually get you the product that you actually need and remove the borders. What happens if there's a product that you absolutely love in BC right now, and you're in Ontario? How are you getting that product on the rec side legally? You can't just ask your buddy to ship it. That's technically illegal. With medical, we could now ship that product across Canada and get you the product that you really need.
Interesting. So you don't need any rules to change, per se. You just need your customers to become patients.
Correct. Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to log on and become a patient today.
That'd be awesome. Please let me know how that goes.
Sure, I sure will. Okay, so then now you've also got your eyes on other jurisdictions. Give me an overview of what your international scope and planning is and your thinking is right now.
Yeah, that's, it's funny you go there. So, I'm here in Toronto this week and speaking to many different people, and you see a shift always, right? Like, oh, now it's hot to be international, so people start talking about that. If you look at Namaste, we actually started our business in the UK and Australia. We're the largest business to vaporizer company in the world, right? To B2C. And to give you an idea, in Australia and the UK, we have over 1.5 million customers. So now we're able to go ahead and use our UK distribution to start selling cannabis, hopefully, in the next few months.
To medical patients in the UK?
Correct.
Interesting. So again, you're not planning to get a license to grow cannabis. You're planning to sell the cannabis that licensed producers are growing within the medical framework.
Exactly. So we're not looking to reinvent the wheel.
Wow.
Canada has given us an unbelievable opportunity to prove our model, to build it out. I remember a couple weeks ago when we started selling, because we just got our sales only license just about a month and a half ago. And it takes time to get product and do it properly, right? This industry is here to stay. And I remember people saying, oh, they only have a few products on their website. And now we have 6 products. And I think this morning I woke up, we actually have 16 products today. And we're going to see this acceleration keep going. And then we'll be able to take this. And that's what the Canadian government's allowed us to do, is really experiment, explore, make sure that we could prove that we could follow all the guidelines and regulations. And then that gives other governments around the world comfort.
Mm-hmm. So do you get the sense that Canada is aggressively cultivating, to use the pun, your participation because it satisfies their objective of excluding the black market sources of cannabis from being supplying Canadians?
So we're always trying to help. Like, that's what Namaste is all about, and sometimes we're taken the wrong way. You know, everybody's our partner. So I've said this before, if somebody buys from Aurora and doesn't buy from Canopy, Canopy actually loses out. Or if somebody doesn't like Canopy products, they lose out if people like Aurora. Mm-hmm. On our platform, no matter who buys from us, we're happy that they're coming and trusting and putting their trust in us. We plan on being the largest e-commerce company across Canada as far as cannabis, anything cannabis related, vaporizers, growing equipment, anything. But then we're working with micro cultivators, which, for example, when rules and regulations have changed, it's really hurt them. These people relied on this business. Corey Zelikson, who co-founded the company with me, we're working extremely close with Cannabis Compliance, arguably the #1 compliance company in the whole cannabis space globally. We have an extremely great relationship with them. And in Nelson, BC, 2 weeks ago, we went ahead and held a conference. And over 50 microcultivators showed up. We've already signed up a whole bunch of them, tons more interest in there, where we've actually went ahead and guaranteed buying all of their product and then using our distribution and e-commerce network. So last year, people were like, oh, how's Namaste even gonna have product? How are they gonna go if they're not growing? I don't understand. Where do you plan on getting it?
Right.
And it's through strategies like this that not only are we helping our fellow Canadians, but at the same time, we're allowing other Canadians who love those micro cultivation products to be able to be sold on our platform.
Interesting. So Namaste is sidestepping the high-cost, low-margin commodity side of the business in preference for the consumer packaged good, high-margin retail side of the business.
You've hit it bang on. That's exactly what we're after.
Wow. Well, so I would think that would be extremely resonating very well with investors. I mean, it strikes me that, you know, all equity prices have been beaten up alongside the general malaise in the global sort of marketplace. So when they all bounce back, I mean, with the proliferation of growers, this kind of a model seems to make a lot of sense.
I would really hope that people really understand. So even though I go out and tell the story that we're your everything cannabis store, whether you're looking for vaporizers, cannabis, CBD, growing, anything, we want to be your one-stop shop. And we're in 20 countries around the world. It's not like we're just in Canada if the regulations change a little. So I really hope that people take the time to understand. We've been encouraging our own investors. I have my weekly show at 4:20 on Wednesdays. And now I start each show not to take it for granted that everybody knows what we do, but really to jump in and explain what we do so people can really understand and then spread that word. Because if people don't understand, how are they able to invest and have confidence in the company?
Well, you bet. Well, that's awesome. I love the pivot you guys have done. It's just amazing. And so we're going to follow along with interest, and I'm going to become a client shortly. So
Awesome.
Thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on.
I know more about Namaste now than I can ever say I have after watching that clip. So I feel a little bit like I'm a little more
Up to date?
up to date. Yeah,
Up to speed?
Interesting. Like you say, you want their customers to become their patients. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
I get it. But that's,
This is a real clever move. I think, because if you think about it.
But if we tell everybody, they're already going to do it.
Well, that's just it. If you want cannabis and you order from
I
the
want
Ontario
cannabis.
Cannabis
I just
store,
need to go in that drawer.
You go to the... No, you've used it all up.
I've taken it all already.
That's right. You've smoked it all. You've basically turned into a Humphrey Bogart. Anyways, but if you want cannabis from the Ontario Cannabis Store, are you going to want to wait 2 weeks?
No.
Do you want to go back to the black market?
No, I want just-in-time inventory. I want to get that stuff right away.
Well, which for you is every day
Like
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. In fact, I'm starting to shake right now. Hey,
Well, so here's the
anybody
thing.
got a joint fired up?
Here's the thing. If you can become a patient and get your cannabis reliably at the same price you can become a rec user and get it unreliably,
Yeah.
which are you going to choose?
Well, so for instance, if you see me tomorrow on the set with intravenous setup and they're dripping THC into me, then you know I've become a patient.
I think that would be indicative of you becoming impatient.
Becoming...
Because you want to get hit right away. You don't even want to roll it and smoke it. You don't want to wait for it to arrive. You don't care if a courier brings it. You want it now.
Roll it and smoke it.
Roll it and smoke it.
Look, I'm just for the viewers, I just want to say, we've got the chart of Amazon up here. Sorry, the S&P? Amazon. I think we should put it up.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I think so. And what is this chart of Amazon?
Okay,
tell us?
so here arguably is probably the company that's involved in everything, right? It's, Jeff Bezos has done an amazing job, briefly touched $1 trillion. So here, we should watch this as a proxy for everything.
Okay.
But we had a day here. Let me just get up my little Ticky and Boppy. Little Bicky. Here, watch this. See that day there?
Yeah.
Completely outside the Bollinger Band, extremely oversold. And what do? We rallied nicely. Now we've come back. We've taken out those lows. But look, the candle is green. We're back above the lows of this day. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, if that is that's a bottom for me, unless something changes. But right the way it sits, if it closes like this, that's not a bad signal. If it closes like this, yeah.
So what, you're saying that indicates a bottom, there's going to be a rally tomorrow? So you should be buying the end of the day.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying what to buy. I'm just saying you might want to put some money to work. And if you put some money to work and it looks okay tomorrow,
yeah.
And I don't mean going to buy some mining stock for a nickel. That's another world. I'm talking about playing the market. I'd say right now, pessimism is high. This little bottom here is holding. The candle is green. Pessimism is very high today. Yeah, we may be, and if it doesn't fail in the next day or two, we're probably going to have a rally because the sellers will stop selling.
The sellers will stop selling and the buyers will stop buying?
Buyers will start buying more.
Huh. That's the way it works. That's what results in an
Holy
update,
smokes.
isn't it?
I should have
This sounds scientific.
I should have a TV show.
This is scientific in nature.
Well, there's a little bit of science to an artsy kind of thing.
Philosophical herd mentality, interpretive.
I like that
exercise.
chart. I like what I see. Now let's just take a look quickly at the S&P. Can we do that?
You're in charge, Ed. You're driving the bus.
I'm large, but not in charge.
You're large, but not in charge. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Let's just see if the S&P confirms. Now I gotta be careful here. We don't want too much shit going on.
Nope. One thing at a time, Eddie.
You know what?
What?
I was born at night, but not last night.
Oh ho ho!
Okay. And yes, the S&P. We had that. This is the day I was sick and I couldn't come in. I said. They moved it off the bottom very quickly. It rallied like 300 points in 5 minutes.
Yep.
That's still the bottom. We talked about it. There's the same rally that Amazon enjoyed. And we're not quite as low, though.
Yeah.
Look at this. This candle, which is a doji candle, is saying indecision. So even though we're down, we're not down as low as we were here. I'm not going to call it one way or the other. I'm starting to lean towards a tradable rally is around the corner.
Tradable
Rally, yeah. In other words,
get in there.
Well, like for
throw
instance,
caution to the wind.
I did
put
buy
your money
some
down.
I bought some Aurora today.
Yeah.
At 7.79, got stopped out at 8.14.
Oh,
Not a big trade.
stopped out. So what? You had a 40-cent trigger on there.
I after there was a profit, I didn't want that profit to turn into a loss, so I put a stop in to protect myself. That's just I think I made $500 or $600.
You don't say.
Just saying.
You do say.
I do say.
You do say. You're saying right now.
Look, these are pretty reliable in my world, and I've only been doing this for 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah, 40.
So let me ask you.
Have you been doing it
incrementally differently?
Yes.
Over 40 years?
Absolutely.
Or are you doing the same thing every day for 40 years in a row?
This is,
okay. You're learning from your mistakes.
I've had to tweak my broken system like many times. No, I've made, listen, hanging on, wishing for the thing to turn, all these things that we all make, these mistakes, I've made them 100 times.
But no more?
I'm trying. It's like an alcoholic who says he's never going to have a drink again. All you know is what you do today.
All right, that's interesting.
So I'm just saying, I like the setup here for a couple things. And if you look, ACB is not down a lot today, is it?
ACB?
Yeah.
We haven't looked at ACB.
Let's take a look.
All right, you pull up a chart.
Okay, I'm going to put up a chart.
Uh-oh, that might take a while. I better go on reserve here.
You better get it up there. Get it up there fast.
Get it up. That's not yet to become one of my problems, Eddie.
Yeah, well...
Although I am getting a little long in the tooth. ACB, okay. 790.
Now look at
down 12 cents.
Here again, we see that bit. Like there is some rhyming going on here. What we saw in Amazon, the S&P, and Aurora, but Aurora today is matching this. Here, why pretend? Here, I got this. Look at this.
Yeah, let's see.
So there's a good candle, and we saw a nice rally. We got a similar candle there, and not new lows. So that's holding. You know what? Are we going to get back to if it rallied $2 and you bought yourself a few thousand shares?
Yeah,
it'd be a nice trade.
Yeah, but not if you put a 40-cent stop on it.
Well, no, but look, with 40 cents, no, but I can buy it back now. I still can buy it back.
True.
Can always buy it.
Are you going to buy it back?
I'm thinking about it. I may just, now that it's 341, I'm thinking, you know what? Made some nice profits today on a couple of things. You know what? I think I'll just maybe go home and smoke a joint and relax.
No kidding. That's a good idea.
No, just kidding. I can say that now. It's legal.
You can. You don't even have to hide. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy...
Let's take a look at Aphria, for instance, as well. Can we do that?
Sure.
I'm getting pretty good at this.
Oh, yeah.
Watch this. Aphria looks not as nice, but not a bad candle today. We're up on the day. It's a green candle. In other words, we opened lower and we rallied higher, and it's only down, 1%, 1.5%.
That's sounding pretty good.
Well, you know what? Where's the damage? Lots of damage, but where is it? CanTrust is now up 26 cents. We were just looking at it at 7.90, and now it's 8.22. Why is this going up when it's so shitty out there?
I have no idea, Ed.
No, that's why you're on the show with me, because you're trying to find out. It's simple.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
Trust was another one I wanted to look at.
Yeah.
And this substantial, Trust actually generated cash for the quarter. They actually added to their cash position.
Okay.
So that, to an accountant trained person like myself, I'd like to see cash being added to the kitty.
Okay.
I don't like to see the cash being depleted, although that's all I've done in my life is depleted my own cash.
Right. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know what? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're insane. If you expect different results.
If you expect different results,
yeah,
but you keep doing the same thing over again,
if you expect, I'm going to keep trying this, and I hope we get a different result.
Here's another stock that's looking like it might be a tradable bottom.
Okay, let's see it.
And I talked to Ben Ward earlier today from Wayland, and here's what he had to say.
Okay, I want to hear about what Ben has to say. Let's hear it.
Welcome back. My guest returning to the show is Ben Ward, CEO of Wayland Group, trading on the CSE under symbol WAYL. Ben, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me, James.
Ben, every time I talk to you, the developments within Wayland are leapfrogging the last development, and so, I got to say I'm just very impressed. And so right now, it was interesting. We were talking earlier, and we were talking about EU GMP certified facilities who are actually in a position to export to Europe, because Europe does not allow anything to be imported in the cannabis space that does not packaged and processed and grown according to EU GMP standards. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. They send an inspector from the home state of the country that you're importing to, and they inspect your facility in Canada or wherever else you are in the world, and then walk through every single step, your standard operating procedures, and they evaluate. So it's another higher level of standard than good production practices that we see as a standard in Canada.
Is it the highest standard in the world?
At present, it is the highest standard in the world.
Huh. Okay, so right now, the EU GMP certified exporters are limited to Tilray, Canopy Growth Corp, and Aurora, as well as Wayland.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is the thing that I look at Wayland, and this is why I'm on the bid daily right now, especially with prices where they are, is there are no other EU GMP certified exporters of product or processors of product, and you've actually got a huge footprint in Europe in terms of the distribution as well.
Yeah, we have existing operations in Germany, and unlike many of our competitors, we're not just talking about it, we're actually doing it. So Wayland has an operational footprint in Germany on the ground, distribution exists, and we have operations and distribution in Switzerland as well.
In Switzerland as well. Okay, so at this time, how many patients are you shipping to?
In Canada, we had 11,000 registered patients, and in Germany, we're distributing to pharmacies. It's a different model. It's not a patient-based model.
Right.
You ship to pharmacies, and then the pharmacies distribute the product to patients with prescriptions.
Okay, now in terms of, I'm trying to get at here, the future on the medical side of Germany. Like right now, there's only 30,000 prescribed patients. So it hasn't adopted the momentum here where, it's a major percentage of the population is a patient of cannabinoids. Yeah. What is the process by which that will happen? What's the timeline until, a majority of German patients are able to access the full range of cannabis products for the full range of indications?
I think the timeline is about a year away. We've seen rapid uptake. Remember, legalization only occurred in January 2017. Then specialists were prescribing. Now the indication range is broad. So we see people being prescribed cannabis on a ramp. I don't think that it's an issue of prescriptions necessarily being written. It's more of a complete lack of supply because, as you mentioned, there's only 4 Canadian suppliers, and then you add Bedrocan and AV. No one else is able to ship, as we've seen in Canadian recreational. There's not enough product in this country to even supply our recreational demand, let alone medical demand. And there's this massive demand from Europe, especially Germany and other places, where patients are fully funded by health insurance for their cannabis product. That's an important differentiation.
So they have no problem having their product paid for.
Exactly.
So how do you amp up the supply of cannabis products into Germany and Switzerland in the shortest term?
Yeah, it's through distribution agreements like we signed with Canna Medical. Our agreement is the largest in the world, 9,000 kilograms over 3 years. And they've called us back. He called me as recently as 11 o'clock last night and said, send more. We need more product.
Send more weed.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so the balance sheet of Wayland is going to reflect this increasing ramp up into the distribution channels in Europe. In Canada?
We'll see transfer pricing for Canada. We'll see the revenue recognized in the German subsidiary and then transferred to Canada. It'll be a very healthy 2019.
Sure. Okay, so big milestones for Wayland going into 2019.
Big milestones are approval of our existing facility in Canada, coming on and licensing and then producing. So we expect at the end of March to have our first mass crop coming out of our new facility, then moving to perpetual grow. That's when we'll see revenue really uptick in the company. Other milestones, we expect to start producing cannabis in Germany medically under the tender process, and then moving into different markets like Colombia, where we announced our acquisition of a license there, and starting mass outdoor agriculture there. So these are, and then other countries entering into and then having either import or distribution agreements with those. So I think Western Europe is a major area of focus for us, and things are in the works to move more product from Canada there while there's no domestic production in country.
Okay, so in terms of the biggest global markets, what ones will Wayland be in? So let's look out 24 months. Where will Wayland be distributing to in terms of the world's biggest markets in 2 years?
Yeah, I even like to look at 2024. How is this business going to be? You have to make the moves now to be present in the market then. As we were discussing earlier, we made the move in January of 2017 to become full EU GMP compliant in all of our production. You have to make the moves ahead of time. You have to plan. And if you're just following the trends and piling on to the latest and greatest craze of things like funded capacity, registered patients, you're really behind the ball, and then you're a follower, not a leader. And where we're leading, Western Europe has health insurance coverage for patients in medical. We saw the UK come online. The National Health Service will be implementing legislation. We'll see a large market for cannabis in Europe. In 2024, this looks like a rational medical market globally, with a few outliers of recreational cannabis among that. So I think where we're positioned is to be a leader in Western Europe, to have distribution there. Health insurance covers patients, and I think Italy is a growing market. We have established ourselves with an organic growth opportunity there with a great established agricultural partner, and we'll be entering markets like that. Italy is probably one of the most exciting cannabis markets because they're focused on the ability to gain revenue and tax revenue from this. Regulators usually only have downside risk, and what we're looking at in Italy is regulators looking at it from how can this be beneficial to the economy, to people, and help the broader spectrum of society.
Wow. So population of Italy?
North of 60 million.
North of 60 million. So Canada plus half.
Yeah, Canada plus half. There's a lot of exciting markets in South America.
Yeah.
There's opportunity to create biosimilar products there as well.
Sure.
Through trials. It's. I think we have to look beyond Canada.
Yeah.
Knowledge and tech transfer is what we have as a company because of 5 years of experience here. But really taking that to the rest of the world, where there are mass population bases and markets that everyone's using cannabis. But how do we see that come above the table? And it's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah. So this is one of the discrepancies I see a lot in the mainstream is people always are clamoring about California, and California is the biggest market in the world, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like Italy, for example, is 60 million people. Germany, how many people live there?
Germany is 85 million people, and plus another 5 million people who have residence there. You have 90 million person market.
Right.
And remember, it's not pay out of pocket, it's health insurance payment. So
free weed.
California is a place that things are commercialized.
Yeah.
It's a great place as much as Milan is for fashion. California is for entertainment. So there's a lot of talk about it, but there's a lot of bandwagon hopping. And so if one person gets valuation for going to California, everyone piles on. So we see a lot of people basically chasing trends instead of making trends. And at Wayland, we're trendsetters.
Sure. A feature of trying to pile onto a very sort of mature market in terms of regulation like California is that at what point does price competition start to undermine the profitability of the massive group trying to, compete?
That's a reality for us globally, and I think that a lot of people projecting large profit margins, especially with U.S. Tax Code 280E, until there's some type of federal legislation. You have to remember, all U.S. companies are being taxed on gross revenue, and they're paying tax on that base. There's a lot of financial maneuvering. So everyone can pile into 100 million of revenue, 200 million of revenue. We're focused on profit. If it's not profitable for us and we don't have those buckets of margin, why participate in that market? So California is interesting when legal, and then to see who the major players are and whether it's worth competing there. But right now there's enough fertile soil all over the world that we can participate in. So we're not US centric.
Right. So the other aspect of for Canadian investors and other investors globally is if you invest in a U.S. enterprise that's deemed a domestic enterprise by the SEC or the IRS, then you're looking at withholding tax, which is can be a real nightmare to recover.
Yeah, there's a lot of legalities, and we'll see how things flesh out. But for us, Western Europe's a great market, South America, and then moving into Asia. This isn't just a Canada or US-specific trend. We see a lot of US-specific news here in Canada, but this is the front of the page of most newspapers globally.
Yeah. What about China? Is China a market that people can consider as a future cannabis marketplace?
I don't think so at this time. I think that legalization is a while away there. They're a large hemp producer, and they've used cannabis in traditional remedies over time, but we just haven't seen any progression there. But Japan's an exciting market, especially for CBD products, and I think we'll be looking at something there in the near future.
Wow, fantastic. The Canadian sort of supply chain seems to be a bit broken in that, you know, I've been to a lot of the growers, but the Ontario Cannabis Store is out of weed all the time and out of most products frequently. So is the Canadian market more problematic at this point than, you know, it seems, or than we expected when legalization took place in October?
I think that the Canadian market is very mature from a consumer standpoint. What I think that the issue is the legalization timetable and time frame was accelerated with no real thought as to what does it actually take to implement this. And the main headline here is demand exceeds supply. And no one could have guessed that there'd be that much demand. I sat in my easy chair at 12:01 a.m. and ordered my product from the Ontario Cannabis Store, and I've received 2 grams of it, and the rest are now apparently delivered to my house today. So that's a time lag, but I think that we got all of our numbers on what the real market is in Canada from criminals and people looking at the criminal activity. Well, criminals aren't declaring their public demand for product. So what we've seen is an explosion of demand. We see what the real size of the market is now. And we also have supply chain issues that are when you receive excise stamps and POs 2 weeks before legalization and deliver now in these product formats. And by the way, we want all 1 gram sampling jars. Well, it's a challenge for us. So I think we'll see that normalize out over Q4. It already is starting to on our end. A few hiccups that we had at the start have been smoothed out. And then in Q1, we'll really see the growth of those of us who are well positioned with supply, being able to supply the provinces. You have to remember this, the provinces didn't pick their initial large supply orders like the stock market does, picking people on daily volatility. They went as external validators and chose those of us who they believe can supply them with large amounts of cannabis over the course of time. So I think the external validation is there of those of us who won the big agreements. And I think that you'll see groups like Wayland shipping a large amount of product Q4, Q1, and then into next year.
Wow. Okay, so then from what you're saying to me, the idea of funded capacity doesn't seem so important. It doesn't matter that you can have funded capacity that has no distribution channel. What are you doing? You're basically growing compost.
Yeah, so a lot of people cashed up and said that they were going to build these massive facilities. We are building a massive facility, and we're halfway there. Rooms are online, growing, sales license in that facility. I think just looking at funded capacity is a complete misnomer. Are the numbers actually there? Have these groups even achieved a sales license? And what are they doing? So a lot of them are competitors or would-be competitors in the market vying for attention. I don't think that we'll see much of that capacity ever built because those of us who have this head start will get there. So I've mentioned this before. It's unfortunate for the industry. There'll be a lot of spectacular failures, but there'll be great successes at the same time, much as the dot-com boom.
Right.
How many people owned Ask Jeeves? How many people owned Pets.com?
Yeah.
Everyone wasn't at Google.
Right, that's right. Interesting. Okay, well, Ben, let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in another couple of weeks and keep the conversation going. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks a lot, James.
James.
Yeah.
So so this company can export. It can export to other countries
In the European bloc.
And there's
now,
only,
contrary to all the bullshit and all the know-nothings
Yeah.
who like to say that California is the biggest market in the world with 42 million residents, yeah, close. It's actually Europe with 140 million residents. And there are 4 companies in the world.
More than 140.
4 companies in the world who can export to the European Union because they are EU GMP certified. One is called Tilray,
Yeah.
market cap
Yeah.
several billion. One is called Canopy Growth, market cap several more billion. The other one's called Aurora, market cap many more billion. And the fourth one, Wayland, market cap $140 million. Cheap. Yes,
Cheap.
they're a client, but that's the reason they're a client. And I think I just got filled on a buy right now. Let's just see. Or, oh, ding, ding, ding. Do you too, market? I got filled at $1.17.
Let me just move myself underneath this bell here.
Right.
Can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Trying to.
Oh my God.
Well, it might help me if I get
God.
hit. What do you call the thing that hangs from the bell?
The dipshit?
No, the
dong.
The
dinger and the dong. Are you the
that.
dong?
I wanted to have a good look at the dong of the bell.
You wanted to get dinged by the dong? Ding dong! Edward calling. Woohoo! Anyways, so full disclosure, I'm now also a shareholder of Wayland.
So you're bottom fishing.
I'm bottom fishing.
No,
I was trying to buy MedMen, but those stinking loser market makers who, like, I put in a bid for $467. What do they do?
Yeah.
They run it up to $475. Like, what do I look like? I was born at night last night. I'm going to chase that. Fuck you! I'll wait and buy it in the morning while you're still in bed. Anyway, but I did get filled on the Wayland, and there was a bunch of great buys today because if tomorrow we get the lift that we think
Will you
that
sell
you're
it
seeing
tomorrow?
technically. No, I'm trying to build a position in Wayland ahead of our campaign that's going to begin imminently. And, basically we're going to be telling Wayland's story to a larger audience, and we're going to do so in a way that is conservative, moderate, and reliant on facts.
I like their logo. Their logo.
No hype,
I don't know what
just
that
the
is.
facts.
That's a funny looking.
Wayland. You know what Wayland is? They were called American. They changed their name to Wayland. Do you know what Wayland is in German folklore? Wayland is a sprightly forest creature that is
A little
typically
nutty?
typically associated with good works.
Really?
Yeah.
Good works.
So Wayland is a mythical figure in German folk culture that is positive. So in that, their biggest market in Western Europe. So if the Western Europe, just like California is a subset of the United States, Germany is a subset of Europe. And I'm not telling you, I'm telling this for our American viewers because they probably think Germany's and Europe are the same country and Germany is just a state in Europe, which it kind of is now that there's the European Union, but we're not going to go there. So that's my point. These guys are positioning to be a recognizable brand name in the European Union, which has 140 million.
There's more than 140 million people.
How many more?
I think it's like about 350 million.
What?
There's more than 100.
Where cannabis is allowed medically.
Okay.
Let's clarify.
Okay.
Let's not get crazy.
It's a big market.
It's pretty big.
And Britain's not in it.
Britain's not it. Well, Britain's was in it. Actually, they're not in the European Union. They were in the Eurozone. Isn't that how that went?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of
They
crazy.
had their own currency.
Have you seen that little thing, video? Fuck the European Union. Oh, it's hilarious. It's by a bunch of British
that
guys.
music is that's the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Is that right? And Beethoven
And
was
I believe
where was
Germany.
Beethoven? Germany, which is in the European Union.
And
So basically-
you know that a couple of countries have taken the Ninth Symphony as their national anthem.
bastards.
It's an amazing piece of music.
It's a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah.
There's no doubt
Ode
about
to
that.
Joy. Ode to Joy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a bit of a Beethoven aficionado.
Oh, can you play any? Can you sing
no,
any? How
no.
about hum a few bars? No?
Du-du-du-du-du-du.
That's pretty good. eh?
Du-du-du-du. That's the fifth.
Yeah, anyways, come for the information, stay for the music is one of our regular guests' favorite sayings. Actually, speaking of our regular guests, I am going to go now.
Do we have any irregular
I'm going
guests?
to address
If we do.
most of our guests are quite irregular, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey,
I'm going to go talk to our
Imodium.
audience right now. There's a few questions out here that we're
let's
going
talk to the
address.
audience.
Right now, everybody's been asking, where the hell is Cam Batley? Cam Batley is here tomorrow. We made a mistake and said he was here today. It's tomorrow. Cam Batley will be here. We'll probably put him on at about 3:30. And that's what we have to say about that. Also, tomorrow, we are looking for your questions. If you'd like us to answer your questions, make a video and send them in. I'm not saying goodbye to you now. We also have some information on, we're having a little segment using the TFSA, your
Tax-free savings account.
tax-free savings
Just
account.
saying.
Can tell who doesn't have one. Or your RRSP to invest in cannabis. We'll have some input as to what is allowed there. Supreme Cannabis founder John Fowler is going to be here for everybody to yell at will online on Friday. And we're also going to be looking at cannabis fashion.
Cannabis fashion.
Cannabis fashion. Fashion. Turn to the left. Fashion. Turn to the right. Ooh, fashion.
Get on the runway.
What else we got? So we had questions here. Richard Barksdale, one of our regular guests. Hello, Richard. Welcome, and thank you for your question. I'm going to make the attempt to answer it. Midas Letter question. What are your thoughts on hemp's potential to disrupt the industries of plastic, fuels, fibers, metals, building materials, etc.?
That's a big question.
Yeah. Okay, Richard, I'm going to say that I think the potential to disrupt those industries is not significant in all cases except fiber, because at its very essence, cannabis is a fiber. And so if cannabis was permitted to be grown everywhere without restriction, without government interference, then I could see fiber as a fiber replacing paper, because it makes a better paper, replacing a lot of...
Does it make papers?
Hemp papers. I've actually got some hemp papers. In fact, no, I didn't bring them with me. Okay, another regular featured guest. Featured? We don't feature the guest.
No, featured
Michael
question.
Hassan says, if Canopy captures 30% of the market and Aurora gets their 15% share and Aphria gets their 12% share, how many customers who buy their product from those companies will be left to buy through Namaste? Sounds like a trick question.
Sounds like
doesn't
53%. I didn't add it. I should have. I just guessed, but I think it adds up to 47. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Very, very good, Ed. That's yeah. That's very good.
I just took a wild guess. I didn't really.
But anyways, I don't know why anybody can say who's going to capture what percentage of the market, because what market are you talking about? There are so many markets and sub-markets, and nobody should be out there saying we're going to capture X percent of the market. If they do, they're not credible. Full stop. That's the bottom line. So I would just say, Michael, that who cares? And Namaste, don't forget, is now committed to not being a licensed, not being a cultivator. They're going to focus on selling all of the products available from the licensed producer universe. Sort of like an online Amazon, which I think is kind of cool. Anthony Alvarez, one of our regular guests. Hello, Anthony. Thank you for joining us. Says, hi, James. Do you think Orion Nutraceuticals will be successful in getting CBD introduced into the professional sports like the NFL? Anthony, I'm going to answer that with a horribly boring response, but Orion, like all promulgators, purveyors, manufacturers, producers, vendors of CBD products, will successfully introduce their products into whatever market they're after upon legalization in the jurisdiction in which they are trying to succeed in that regard. So whether you're trying to sell into the NFL from North Carolina, or you're trying to sell into the Junior Seals swim team from Florida, or whether you're trying to sell into the America's Cup sailing team from Oz, really don't matter, mate. If it's not legal, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
There's some questions for the moment. I hope I didn't anger anybody with my flippant, awfully Ask Me Anything segment. Ask me anything. Ask us anything.
Ask us anything.
It's not about me yet. It's about us. Let's talk about us.
There's no me and us.
There's no me and I.
There's no us and me.
All right. So ask me anything. First question.
Hi, Ed. What was the first stock you ever invested in?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a very good question, because when I got my first job at a university, I worked for a subsidiary of American Motors in Sarnia. Okay, it was the foundry. And I had a bachelor's degree in commerce, and I'd taken finance courses and all this stuff.
And that's why you're working at
the
factory.
And this is at 72, 73. I'm trying to get in the accounting profession, but no one would take me. But I persevered. Anyway, the automotive industry was in a terrible recession, and American Motors was having a real tough go. And I went and bought some American Motor stock with the thinking that if you're you should buy them when they're out of favor. And I think I bought 400 shares at $4.25, and 2 years later I sold them for $8. Probably the worst stock I could have picked, because if I'd have bought Chrysler or General Motors, they took off like crazy. American Motors Didn't really do well, but that was the first, and that taught me something. Buy the sounds of cannons, sell to the sounds of trumpets.
And what are we hearing right now in the cannabis space?
Well, we're hearing cannons. We're not hearing trumpets.
I'm hearing a stampede towards the exits.
Yeah, and the one proviso, though, now that it's legal, people are going to pay attention to the financial statements, and that's the quarterly reports.
Or as our friend Al Rosen called them, weapons of mass financial destruction.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be some winners.
He called them audited financial delusions. Anyways, he's a real party pooper. Nobody likes him because he's so honest and right. You know, he used to be the
Who's this?
Al Rosen. He's a forensic accountant who used to be the Supreme Court of Ontario's first call whenever they had to have professional testimony in the accounting sector.
Right.
So he's very critical of the current regime and the current rules governing auditing and accounting in Canada.
Yeah.
And, in many respects, I agree with him. But I'll tell you what, none of the public companies want to hear from this guy. They like their IFRS. They like their biological asset accounting that creates negative cost of sales on the balance sheet. They love that shit.
I want to just add to because there's a part of the story here. After I made the money on the American Motor stock, which was a small amount of money, I then listened to the broker, and he said, I want to buy some soybeans because they were out of favor. And he said, no, we have a lot more fun in the silver market. My money got torched in probably a week or two. Because, the idea is to buy and sell if you start getting into trading with a broker.
Right, not buy and hold, like Warren Buffett.
You got to know what you're doing. It's
Warren
not
Buffett's
easy.
a Coke freak. Did you know that?
Coca-Cola.
Anyways, another question from Kemp Consulting, a regular guest. Mr. Kemp, I'm assuming you're a Mr. Maybe you're a Mrs. If you are, I apologize for the offense. If you're a Mr., hey, how you doing, brother? Anyways, Kemp Consulting says, question for Midas boys. Do you know when infused drinks become legal, and if all things stay as they are now in the States, will the Americanis be able to ship and sell their drinks up here? Two-part question.
Well, that's a good question. Very good question, Kempo.
Yeah, the government has committed to making beverages infused with cannabis legal within 1 year after the launch of legalization. So that would imply by October 17th, 2019. Now, there's a lot of companies that are counting on that. So, I think the pressure's on to meet that deadline. And so far, the government's demonstrated pretty firm commitment to walking the walk as well as talking the talk when it comes to cannabis. Would you agree? The Liberal government pushed through that legislation. Some say that's why we have such a bodgy government distribution system.
Yeah.
And now in the United States, will the United States be able to ship to Canada? Well, that's a whole separate issue because it would definitely have to be legal federally in the United States for them to export any cannabis products. Do we see that happening in the next 2 years even? Next year? 2020, I guess, is the soonest it is likely to happen if we're going to wait for a change in the federal government. And that's only if the Democrats win. Now, currently, the United States is mired in bipolar partisan politics. And so it's anybody's guess who gets through. And you might end up with this fractured state-by-state thing. Then there won't be any federal exports. And that's always going to hinder the business. From a Canadian perspective, we say, keep arguing amongst yourselves, United States. We're happy with the fact that you're not federally legal because that way we get to capture the opportunity in the United States from the Canadian perspective and dominate the global market. So how about her? Keep going. We're happy. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? There's so many combinations, permutations, possibilities. It's very difficult to sit here 1 month after it's legal and try to understand everything. It's a day at a time, no?
1 day at a time.
Should be a name of a soap opera.
A soap opera, 1 day at a time? A day in the life? Days of our lives.
Days.
1 day at a time.
1 day at a time.
that would be a good thing for a comedy show. 1 day at a time. Anyways, there we go. Giving all our good ideas to Hollywood again.
Midas Letter Clips, subscribe.
So the conversation now in the... Mary Kemp says, I would be a Mrs. Oh, Mary. Hello, Mary. Nice to see you, Mary. These are not the cannabinoids you're looking for. Good one from Eric Gamliel. Says, these are not the cannabinoids you're looking for. Quotation on the Star Wars film. Awesome. Ask me anything, number 2.
You want me to ask
One question I have is about mutual funds. And every year from my mutual fund, I won't say which one, I get a questionnaire which tells me how I'd like to customize it. And then every time I try to customize it, I get a letter saying that they have a way that they want to do it anyway. And my question would be, how does the stock market, or how do banks pick the stocks for mutual funds? And why would they bother with questionnaires?
Question.
That's an awesome question.
Jeez.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if there's an answer to that one, but I think it has something to do with the fact that banks have all the money, so they sort of do what they want.
Well, and so typically, if they're sending out a questionnaire to ask you, what would you do? What would you like to do differently with your mutual fund? And if you indicate an expression of interest in making a change, that's when they pounce and go, oh, okay, he's willing to make some changes. We can load out some of the stocks, collect the fees on the way out. Then we can load them up with some stocks that we finance so that we collect some fees on the way in, plus earn our keep for the financing fees that we charged on the financing. So banks are notorious for loading all their clients up with financial products that they make the most money on. In fact, they have whole floors of business analysts to figure out how to do that. They do not have your financial interests at heart, not one iota. Their only interest is maximizing revenue per user, and that is why they send you questionnaires. They don't really care what you have to say. All they want to know is, are you ripe for jamming some more fees into by indicating or expressing a wish for change?
Well,
so there you have it.
generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, there
are some good banks.
Yeah, there's some exceptions.
Where? Actually, there aren't. Just kidding. There are no exceptions. There's no good banks. There's no such thing as a good bank. Boy, I'd probably get myself into trouble saying that in Canada, where we've only got 5 top banks, and so without a banking relationship...
Are there any good banks for the buck?
Good banks for the buck. I got to say that I'm pretty happy with BMO.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah. BMO, actually, I've been happy with BMO for many years.
Me too.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, really. we should ask for sponsorship dollars.
Well, you know what? Why don't we?
That's a hell of an idea.
You know what?
Just right over there.
They got tons of money.
How much money can we?
It's all frozen.
have?
Everything just froze up. Just kidding.
Where's the money? No money.
No money, no honey. No money,
No money,
honey,
no
funny.
All right then. So
I
now
love
that
it.
the market's been closed for a grand total of 20 minutes,
Yeah.
we're going to be able to look at our cannabis indexes and see what kind of carnage we ended up with for the day. So I'm going to hit re, and then I'm going to read the sign.
Read them and weep. Read them and weep.
Oh, while we get ready to talk about the end of the day, let's talk about advertising in cannabis, shall we?
The Canadian government has harsh regulations when it comes to advertising any cannabis products. The law prohibits promoting cannabis in any way that can be seen as appealing to young people. That means no billboards, no newspapers, no spelling OG Kush in the sky. With all these limitations, where does this leave this blossoming new sector?
So when it comes to advertising in cannabis in Canada, the really interesting thing about the way the laws and the regulations are written, and it's something Health Canada will actually state regularly, is their goal is to limit promotions as much as possible. It's more broadly that they don't want you to promote, and there are very limited ways in which you can. So the 2 big ways in which you can are informational promotions or brand preference driving promotions. So what does that mean? Well, it would be an informational promotion to say that our product is organic. It would be brand preference driving to say that we have better strains or more unique genetics than our competitors. Now, there is a bit of debate right now in the industry what can be done in places where young people can see them. Because, for example, you can put a brand element on a hoodie or on a baseball cap, and that's deemed compliant. So if you're allowed to put it on an object or a thing that's not cannabis, would that thing also include a billboard? And there's been some indication from Health Canada that it potentially could, but there's restrictions on what else you can put on there. There are other activities that we know definitely are compliant. For example, targeted emails or mail that the recipients are only of age, or if something is happening behind a completely age-gated environment. So I guess when it comes to asking why cannabis is being treated differently than prescription drugs or alcohol, I think there's, a century of stigma attached to cannabis as well that influenced the way policymakers actually went about drafting this law. And, I think that sometimes we maybe have to give this a little bit of time. In an ideal world, would cannabis love to operate under the same rules as alcohol? Of course. And as a marketer, that would be great because there's a lot more ways to play with how you're going to reach your consumer. I mean, of course, as a cannabis marketer, I would love to see Canada reconsider the restrictions, or at least as the industry matures, allow for more pre-approvals, have somebody like the Ad Standards Council pre-approve ads for cannabis in the way that they do with alcohol.
It seems that the Canadian cannabis companies are working with their hands tied behind their backs compared to the United States cannabis companies. With cannabis not being legal under federal law in the US, each state has its own rules on how their respected companies can market and endorse their products to the public.
Some states do allow the television advertising and print advertising. The specific rules pretty much vary from state to state, but the largest one is primarily making sure that the advertising is not geared towards minors and people under the age of 21, and that it is not geared towards people that are not within a legal state. While this is completely reasonable, and I think in fact shows that the cannabis industry is very interested in maintaining good public safety and following the rules. For instance, alcohol companies aren't subjected to this despite the fact that their product is significantly more dangerous. I think that some companies are having problems with that because it makes it more difficult for them to be able to bring their product to market and be able to let people know about it. In addition, private companies such as Facebook, which allow for advertisers to be able to limit and focus their advertising based on geographic location and age, are often denied the ability to advertise their businesses and their products on those platforms. Generally, the rules for cannabis marketing and advertising are much more strict than they are for alcohol and tobacco, and certainly much more strict than they are for pharmaceutical companies.
The cannabis industry is still fairly new and has to prove itself before it can get any leeway in the marketing space. And I don't know about you, but I for one would rather see cannabis commercials over all these prescription drug commercials that end off in lists of hundreds of side effects, and it always ends up with anal bleeding. What's with the anal bleeding? I'm tired of the anal bleeding. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Adamo Barbieri.
I think we should offer the ability to advertise cannabis products on billboards.
I can see it's a bit of a slippery slope, though.
Well, but here's the thing.
And I'm not saying nay or yay, but I'm saying, we got to baby steps.
But here's the thing. So I'm the federal government. I enact cannabis legislation to put an end to the black market.
If you're the federal government, you can just do it.
But I don't allow advertising. So it's like this. Push me, pull you. Come on, baby.
I know.
Anyways, let's take a look at the total constituents in the cannabis sector on my NDI right now. My NDI standing for Nefarious Diagnostic Interface. I just made that up. So look at this.
Let's take a look. I can't see. I'm going to look over here because it's closer.
Well, I just screwed it up. Look at that. Close up. Where'd it go? There we go. I gotta go like this and try to find that again. Here we go. No, that's not it. Where'd it go? It's the one with the green. There we go. Here we go. All right. So the number one winner of the day was Cantra. What? Up 23 cents. Oh, I want the biggest percentage change. NF. Don't know who they are. It doesn't matter. GSD, VP. No, let's go with dollar change. So CanTrust ended up closing the day higher by 23 cents to $8.19.
Yeah.
IGX. Who the hell is IGX? You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a... Oh, no, I can't. Okay, so let's see. Who changed? So CPTR, CGOC is the Cannabis Growth Opportunity Fund, ended up 4 cents at $1.36. That one might be a bit of a buy. ACB ended up closing up a penny.
Yeah.
Not bad. Now, in terms of who did the worst among all of the cannabis companies, actually looks like, from a sheer dollar value amount, it was actually Tweed. Only ended up down 58 cents. TerrAscend ended up down 39 cents. So not a bad day.
This was not a destruction here of wealth in this sector. MedMen's down 71 cents. But if we start to see some nice candles tomorrow, and again, I see a little double bottom there. I think we could rally. I think it's a tradable rally.
Yeah. Well, look at this. So, Ed, we've been seeing this a lot. Coming out of the chute, this is where all the action happens in the day for the most part. So this is the intraday chart for the Midas Letter Large Cap Index, all companies over 500 million that have been over 500 million and trading on the market since September 30th, which excludes, so this thing is actually worth a lot more. It currently excludes Cureleaf, it excludes Acreage Farms, it excludes M. Hardeen, it excludes Trulieve, it excludes GTI, Green Thumb Industries, it excludes Charlotte's Web. Was Charlotte's Web public in September?
Yes.
They were, okay.
I think, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
That's only 2 months ago.
Yeah, but so interestingly enough, there's going to be a few more billion-dollar-plus companies on the index as of December 31st, which is going to give the index quite the boost. Now, I don't think there's any other index that changes so dramatically from quarter to quarter than the large cap index in the cannabis space in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, it got listed just at the end of September.
Yeah.
Look at this, eh? Yeah. Wow. That's one of the best performing ones, is the Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's one of the ones that's held its value, increased its value. Tinley and Hill Street, two companies I figure will be the bomb next year. Kempo Consulting says. Tinley and Hill Street. Hill Street Brewing we had in here. That's the guy who's got all the shelf space already in a lot of the grocery stores selling de-alcoholized products, and is thinking that he's going to convert that into cannabis product space, maybe. And Tinley is...
I know, Mazer.
Yeah, Jeff Mazer's deal.
Yeah.
And they're making infused beverages in Colorado and in California now. Yeah. In either case, unless there's some big changes...
Tilray's down 277. Ooh. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. But.
Yeah. No, everybody's used to that now. So Don LaPointe says his stocks are Juju, ACB, XLY, and AT&T. No, ATT.CN. Adabus? Wow. Nice choices, Don.
Yeah, that'll keep you...
that'll keep you...
Focused.
Yeah. So,
how's Huge doing?
Huge had a little bit of a down day. We'll go straight to Huge.
I noticed it back. Chart. It was back up. I think it was down yesterday.
So here's Huge's chart intraday. Let's take a look at the 3-month just to get some perspective. So it's been heading lower consistently with the downdraft that's sucking all markets lower.
The sort of the eddy.
The edification of the situation.
Whirlpool.
Oh, whirlpool.
Eddy, I think, is a synonym for whirlpool.
Eddy's the backflow against the current on the edges of it.
I'm pretty sure it's a whirlpool.
No.
Yep.
No.
Let's take a look.
Okay. Can we get a definition of eddy, please?
EDDY, not Eddie Spaghetti, but eddy.
I thought we were already talking about wing nuts and doorposts and all that stuff. Anyways, so tomorrow we have Cam Batley.
Okay. Look at this CanTrust up 23 cents again. That was a nice little action.
Squirrel. And we've also got, we got other people coming on the show. John Fowler is going to be here on Friday. And we're going to ask Cam Batley about his financials that came out last week.
Yeah.
So they increased sales to $30 million, but they lost a big chunk of money.
Well,
we're going to ask him where that big line item boost came from investments. So we're going to ask him particularly, was that the divestment of T-God? Because what else do they have such a big position in that they can sell in such a liquid market? The only one I could have thought of was T-God.
You're talking about Canopy Growth, right?
Yeah, ACB.
Yeah, they had a line item there.
$85 million win.
Yeah. That's not an earning. That's
a one-time sale.
Yeah, it's a
stock sale.
What do they call those? Extraordinary item. That's what they call it in the accounting world. That's what they used to call it.
Yeah. Well, it's a one-time
I passed that
event.
I passed that test.
4 years ago?
40.
40 years. What was the toughest question you had to answer back then?
They were all tough.
Okay. Actually, so that concludes our show for today. We're going to be back tomorrow. Cam Batley will be here by about 3:30, I'm thinking. And we're going to take your questions, so ask us anything. Think of something.
We're learning. We're watching that S&P and that Amazon and the weed.
Also,
okay,
give us some ideas as to what guests you want us to get in here. And also, tell us what companies you'd like us to feature more of, because we will pay attention to your requests and we will do our best to get them on the show.
All right.
So thank you all for joining us. Don LaPointe, Kempo Consulting, and
thanks for your questions.
Jordan Botha, Mary Kemp, Interfacing, Christopher, Don LaPointe. Wish you all a very great night, and we'll see you all tomorrow, we hope. Thanks for joining us.